All right, good morning. It is June 22nd, 2018, and we are doing presentations of requests for funding from external organizations. So if you will please state your name and tell us the organization you represent, and then start your presentation.
My name is Shar Torgerson. I'm the Executive Director of the Watertown Volunteer Center. The Watertown Volunteer Center was a dream back after the floods of 1997. And so in 1999, it was formed and became a 401c3 nonprofit organization. So we've been in business, in operation for about 19 years this fall. And of those 19 years, I've been with the organization 15 years. So I feel like it's real dear and near to my heart. I have a real passion for it. And we currently have 65 nonprofits that we provide volunteers for. So we do get a lot of calls about mowing grass, shoveling sidewalks, washing windows, but that's not what we do. We're only here to help the nonprofits of the community. So we put in about 10,000 hours a year with our volunteers. We have over 400 volunteers currently, and of course most of them are women, and more of them are adult than youth. I'd say about 2/3 are adults. Our budget is real simple and frugal. We haven't increased the budget for many, many years. We used to have I'm part-time 4 days a week, and we used to have another gal that helped part-time, like 2 days a week, but due to budget constraints, we just felt like we couldn't continue to have her, so I've been doing it alone for about 6 years now.
Okay. Anything else?
We help in a whole lot of very varied events, like we provide volunteers for carrying capers. We just had a request last week from Sanford. They're putting together a child abuse program at the clinic on Tuesdays from 9 to 5, and they would, the Child Protective Services and the police will be delivering these children to the clinic, and they need a volunteer to help and sit with the child while others are being interviewed. So that's a new request we've never had. The Esteline Nursing Home has used us. We just provided volunteers to push residents at Redland Arts Center for an outing. We had a couple outings this month alone. The American Red Cross is having 2 events at the County Fair Banquet Hall, and one was yesterday and the day before, and we'll have another 2 days in July. We provide volunteers for that. We have ongoing requests at Jenkins and at Prairie Lakes Hospital. The Convention Visitors Bureau uses us frequently to help get their packets out, stuff envelopes, that sort of thing. The farm show, tremendous amount of people there. Relay for Life, we just had that event last weekend, and we had a bunch of volunteers there. Tomorrow we're going to be, this is a new request, tomorrow we're going to be putting mulch on the 14th Avenue roundabout. And so we have 3 volunteers going up there to help with that. The Vets Memorial, we've helped there, plant flowers as well as weed flowers. And the dental bus was just here last week, and will be here throughout the month of June. And so United Way contacted us because we are a United Way agency too. And we got volunteers to help register the children and do stuff with that. Thrift stores, we have some volunteers at GSI. We help with the city election. Lots of basketball, baseball, wrestling, volleyball tournaments that come to town. We provide volunteers for that. So we help in a variety of ways. The Friends of Tim Lightfield concert is held every year at Dempsey's, and we get volunteers for that. And every month we help the Northern Prairie Arts set up and take down their easels and lights for the event. So,
Wow. How do you find your volunteers?
well, it's a lot of word of mouth, and we used to have a website, but due to budget constraints, we no longer have that. We're just on Facebook, so it's mostly word of mouth and at our events that we have, or we can't do much marketing because of budget constraints. You know, we don't have a big amount of money for that. So it's mainly word of mouth, and I think being in the community for almost 20 years.
Yeah. What's your biggest challenge?
You know, we've never had a problem meeting the volunteer requests. We've always provided volunteers. Maybe some didn't show up at the day because of weather or illness or something like that. But I think our biggest challenge is getting the funds. It's always been a struggle. Our donations are down, and each year we have to dip into our reserve. We don't have a lot. We had $10,000 in a CD, and we had to the first time take $5,000 out this year because, you know, our budget is $39,400, but invariably our expenses run at 37, and we just budget 36 for, and we have 3,000 in a cash reserve. So we always have to pick away at that, and after a series of years, you know, you see that, especially if your donations are down. We do fundraising of about $8,000 a year, and we generally come close to that. And the United Way is our biggest supporter. We get about 35% of our budget from them. And the county, we now are getting $2,500 because earlier, when we first started, it was $1,000 a year, and then they had that opt-out initiative back in 2004 or 5, I think. Maybe it was a little later. And so we didn't get any funds. So then I approached them again, and we've been getting it for the last 8 years or so, that $2,500. And we rely on some grants of $2,000, but you know the grants are for a specific event or project. Like we got a grant from the Watertown Area Community Foundation Youth Council this year, and we're going to make for a youth project make a dozen tie blankets for the Salvation Army because they are really in need of that, especially during the winter months. They have nothing like that. I spoke to them down there. So we're going to be doing that in July. So we try to do something like that, get a grant. But the other grant funds that we do get, it comes from Grace Lutheran Church Foundation, and that's a wonderful thing because it buys our candy bars that we sell for a big fundraiser. We get about 1,200 of those large candy bars, and they pretty much cover that expense. Otherwise, we'd be more in the hole when it comes to fundraising, you know. So we have our biggest fundraiser in June. That's the hors d'oeuvre extravaganza, and you were there this year, Mayor. So we try to make at least $6,000, and we made $6,054 this year. So that was a good thing. Yeah.
Do you have any plans for any new or different fundraising events?
You know, we've done a lot of different things in the past. Like we've done food booths when what is that grocery store? Food overwork. Yeah. Home of Economies in North Dakota, where I'm from. Anyway, we did their food booth every year and got a portion of that, as well as County Fair and Hy-Vee. Well, they've kind of quit doing that for several years now. And when Crazy Days was here, we always had a food booth. And when the Arts Festival was here, that's quit now for a few years. But, you know, the last time we did it, we made $58. Ooh. So then is it worthwhile setting up and getting all this stuff? And, you know, so that's the other fundraisers, you know, we've had basically is food booths or something like that. We did, when I first started, have a Taste for Service event, and the hors d'oeuvre extravaganza has replaced that. That was, Taste for Service was, you'd invite friends and then you would do crazy things for them, you know, and get tips. Like Zupkis were great. They would, you know, pamper their feet, give them massages, whatever. You know, somebody ate a goldfish. And so that was fun too. But, you know, it's hard to come up with different things because, like, each nonprofit has their own, you know, we have 65, 70 nonprofits in the community. So you don't want to step on any toes. We'd love to do Vintiques, but and have a food booth there. I think that would be profitable, but that's the blackout period for United Way from September 1st to November 15th or November 1st. So can't do that, yeah, if you're a recipient of United Way funds.
Oh, okay. Do you have a vision for the future of the Volunteer Center?
My vision is that it will always be there. We're very unique to Watertown, to the state of South Dakota. There is, that I know of, no other resource like that in the community. Sioux Falls has 211 center, but that's completely different. Like, the groups down there find their own volunteers. And I know when I was in Colorado, I worked for a nonprofit, and we had to find our own volunteers. So you didn't have that resource to come to. You know, we have a large bank of volunteers. I think we have, you know, probably 1,500 registered, but of course they're not all active. And some have moved away or passed away, or they did it for a specific project. But that's how many volunteers we've had in our database. And so you know, the vision is that it will always be here. I think it's a valuable and viable resource for the community, and I think it would be a real detriment if it went away.
Well, having volunteers is critical to our community, and it's one thing to have willing volunteers, and the community of Watertown is very generous in volunteering. But having someone to coordinate that is huge. It's huge because it really facilitates all the work that all those volunteers do.
Right.
And without this organization, it would be harder for people to get connected in with their available time and satisfying a need.
Right.
So it's a
Right.
benefit, I see, to our community, really an extension of the city organization to have unpaid employees or workers doing things throughout our community with, you know, really we don't do anything but give you a little bit of money.
We, you know, when you support the Volunteer Center, I think a lot of people don't realize this, you're supporting the other nonprofits.
Right.
Because we're helping them, you know. 150,000 hours since I've been employed there, plus a lot of those hours aren't documented. People don't want to give hours for one reason or another. Maybe they, you know, that's, but of those recorded hours, you know, the nonprofit quarterly states a volunteer's wage is equal to $24.14 an hour. So that's way over $3 million.
Right.
That,
Yes.
if you look at it that way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
If someone were paying for those
Yes.
hours,
Yes.
that's what it's worth.
Yeah.
And that's tremendous.
Yeah, it is. And I, you know, it's, you know, the community would go forward, I'm sure, and it'd be fine. But I think it would be a sad thing, something we've had for 20 years. And I grant you,
If we didn't have it.
if we didn't have it, and our budget is so minimal. I mean, that includes my wages.
know.
I haven't had I'm not doing it for the money. I mean, I really love it, but I didn't have an increase in pay for like 8 years, but and then I got $200 a year. So, I mean, and I think they'd be hard pressed to find somebody
Right.
when I retire, but for that wage. So I think we're really run a tight ship. We don't spend extravagant, as you've seen in those reports I sent in. So it's pretty bare bones, yeah.
All right.
And we do need the funding from the city. We really do. We used to get $7,500, but then it was dropped to $5,000. So we're grateful it's $6,750 again, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the donations may go up, but you can't rely just on that. You know, a lot of most nonprofits require donations, and the economy gets tight for. And maybe I know some of our bigger contributors are not here no more. So. Yeah.
All right. Any final words?
No, thank you for all you've done for your support all these years. We're here to serve the community, and ultimately everything we do does benefit the city of Watertown. So thank you. I appreciate what you can do for us.
Thank you for all you do, Shar.
You're welcome.